Hello everyone, welcome to my channel. Glad to see you here, or at least to meet you, even though we're not really meeting. But welcome to my channel. I'm MS Zico and I am an MBA admit at the Villanova School of Business. If there are any other international applicants out there seeking an MBA and admission into an MBA program in the US, then this video is probably going to be useful for you. Number one, I learned that the MBA application process is very expensive. Personally, I spent a little less than $1,000, and that's only because I was able to get application fee waivers and I didn't have to splurge on exam resources. But you're going to see that if you budget everything, you will be faced anywhere between $1,000 to $2,500 based on your expenses. Here we can segment your expenses into optional expenses and non-optional expenses. Under non-optional expenses, you're going to have cost by cost credential evaluation. You're going to have application fees, fees for your GMAT or GRE exam, fees for your language proficiency test. Under optional expenses, you're going to have additional exam sessions. You're going to have resources for your GRE, GMAT or language proficiency test exams, as well as fees for an admissions consultant. On this one, like I said, really optional. There are ways in which you can get around. Paying for GMAT or GRE resources. Personally, I use Genius Library and Z Library. I was able to get previous editions of any material that I was really looking at, and that really saved me a couple of hundred dollars. You can also do that if that's something that you can afford. Also, admissions consultant, in as much as their help and their support is actually useful throughout the process because it can be very tedious. If you're able to get support from someone that has already gone through the entire MBA process free of charge, go for it. Admissions consultants, yes, they are useful, but the same things that they provide to you in terms of understanding, someone that has gone through the process might be able to provide just as much understanding of the process, just as much explanation of the entire process to you. Number two, the MBA application process is time consuming. While technically you can apply within the space of 1 month, in reality that's not going to be possible. The truth is, if this is your first time applying to the US, to a graduate program in the US, a lot of the documents you're going to be asked, you probably don't already have them. So you need time. You need to set aside time to prepare to get those documents at hand. Personally, I found that the essay writing and the cost by cost credential evaluation were the longest and most time consuming of the entire process. I personally spent 4 months trying to get my cost by cost credential evaluation, and that's mainly because my alma mater had a delay when it came down to sending the verification email back to the agency that was in charge of doing the evaluation of my academic transcripts. 4 months gone. But if you're able to plan ahead and actually get in contact with your alma mater, stay in contact with the evaluating agency, then these 4 months is not going to be a reality. Definitely not going to be a reality. The other part of it, the essay writing. I had somewhere around 12 essays to write. I found that I spent anywhere between 12 to 16 hours per essay. And the number of essays you're going to write are actually going to increase with the number of schools that you apply to. So what you want to do here is be very smart about the way you organize yourself. You want to make sure that you have a great system when it comes down to planning your essay writing and actually writing out the essay in a way that is very, very good and very personalized for each MBA program you're applying to. I'm going to have a whole video on how to go about essay writing for MBA programs. If that's something that you're interested in, stick around. Number three, I learned that you should choose your target schools wisely. If you choose your target schools poorly, then your entire application process is just going to be a learning opportunity. You're going to send out applications and you're not going to receive any positive result. Getting admission into an MBA program, what I found out is a lot about the fit between you and the school. But you should not only look at how you fit, how your profile fits in with the previous graduating classes, you should also look at how the school fits in with your professional goals. There are certain schools that are very known, that are very well known to place their graduates in specific industries. So, for example, if your interest is going into finance after your MBA, then you might very well self going towards schools that have a high percentage of their graduates going into the finance industry. You're going to get a lot from the alumni of the school. You're going to get a lot from the network of companies that work with the schools, from the teachers that work with the schools, and even from the curriculum that is specifically designed to build that's specifically designed to build up for great financial graduates. Number 4, application rounds matter. Application in the US basically happens between Application to schools in the US usually happens between August and May of the following year, and this is done in multiple rounds. You're going to have a total of 4, sometimes even 6, if the school decides to extend them to up to 6 rounds. One thing that you're going to identify or to find out here as an international student, most schools are going to ask you to apply by round 3, which is somewhere around February, March. And usually this is to allow you enough time, and the school also enough time for visa processing, travel arrangements, and make sure that you are on campus at the appointed time, at the appointed date. But one thing I found out is that there is another reason why you should care about whether you're applying in first round, early decision, or second round. Basically, is to avoid a situation in which you have overqualified candidates applying to schools that they have no intention of going to. What happens here is that candidates usually apply to early decisions, they get an admission, then when round 1 and round 2 of other schools come up, they apply to those schools simply because they want to see how their profile fits, or they want to collect admissions letter and brag about, hey, I was accepted to Harvard, accepted to Wharton, accepted to Columbia, to Stanford, and so on and so forth. So the earlier you apply, the less likely you're to fall into this. The later you apply, the more likely you're going to fall into a pool where you have a lot of candidates that have a better profile than you, that have been admitted to better schools than the one that you're applying to currently, and are more likely to get the admission letter than you. So apply as early as you possibly can, and hopefully you're not caught up in that situation. Number 5, business school is very costly. That is no news. That is very well known throughout your 2-year MBA program. If you're going for a 2-year program, you will spend anywhere between 180,000 to 240,000 if you're admitted to a full-time program. Now the question of how do I finance my MBA program as an international student is being asked. This should be part of your preparation, in as much as you're preparing for the GMAT, as you're preparing for your language proficiency test, or any other section of the application process. You should think about how you're going to finance your MBA experience. While you're going to have standard options, that's international loans, you have private agencies like Empower Financing, you're going to have school-specific scholarships or even international scholarships. You should also look at lesser known or lesser used options. Here I'm going to refer you to 2 that I personally found out and said, oh wow, that's interesting. Number 1 would be to take advantage of an H1 visa. By applying to a part-time program rather than to a full-time program, you'll be required to present a formal job offer at the embassy in order to benefit an H1 visa. By getting this, you'll be able to study either in the weekends or in the evening while you're working during the day. So your work can actually finance your stay in the US for the time that you're there. Another option that you can look at if you're in a full-time program is tuition remission for graduate positions on your campus. Every campus has such positions. You should just look around, go on the school website. When you get to campus, actually go from faculty to faculty and ask around. See the graduate positions that are open. See how they pay those graduate positions. Some graduate positions actually are paid based on tuition remission. And tuition remission simply means that if you're required to, say, for the first semester, you're required to validate 15 or 30 credits, due to the work that you're doing as a graduate employee of the school, then you're going to receive a remission for 10 credits, for example. And so your fees, you'll be required to pay your tuition fees only on 20 credits. So your actual school, your actual tuition fees can go from 60,000 to 48,000 or 40,000, depending on the cost for your particular school. So that would be my advice here for you. If you're interested on other funding opportunities for international students, tell me in the comments. I'm going to work on a video. I've also written an article on that. You can go on my blog. The link is in the description box below. Look at the articles that I've come up with so far. A lot of the articles are on MBA applications for international students. So if you've enjoyed this video, if anything I've said here actually rings a bell in your head and actually provides you enough insight, consider checking out the blog. You might find out additional information that you will also be able to use in your current situation. So thank you very much for sticking around this long. It's been great talking to you, or at least talking to my phone. And I hope that we can keep on interacting over the next few videos. Ciao.